So since WWE didn't even want to try this week, why should we? We're not going to give you an intro or anything like that. This show was pure garbage, and we are breaking it down. Welcome to the Con and Bob podcast. Bob, I am so pissed off with this show that we have in front of us. They don't try. They don't try with this show, and I'm ridiculously annoyed. I just got to pass this on over to you. You say hi to the people as I try to cool down and get in the mind space to do this hour freaking podcast on this terrible garbage show.
Hey, gang. I feel you. I feel your frustration. I feel your pain. I agree. I'm going to, as I mentioned to you, I'm going to try and play some devil's advocate to your points. It's going to be difficult.
Because
just
it was
because,
not good.
There's certain, but no, there was a lot of not good this week, and it was, for me, it's not even the aspect of not good necessarily. It's the aspect of confusion.
Okay, so
it
you're on
just
the
left
confused side.
me like, what? Why? Like, what is happening? And like you said, like I think your tweet or something about the fact, or you messaged me about it, just saying like, there's no real point in us caring because there's a lot of that confusion.
Let me take away from there, man. I'm going to go right over from that because you're absolutely right. There is no storylines being given us on Monday Night Raw and Tuesday Night SmackDown that allows us to get invested in the TV show. All right? We're invested in the pay-per-views every month. Everybody is, right? We always talk about what's coming up at the upcoming pay-per-view, what's coming up at the next big event. And that's good, right? That means there's always excitement around wrestling in that sense. When's the last time you said you're excited for Monday Night Raw? When's the last time you said you were excited for Tuesday Night SmackDown? Seriously.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because I find I'm more excited for SmackDown than Raw in recent history often. And it's funny because in this week's Raw, at one point during the signing, AJ Styles said like, Raw, this is Raw. This is like where the fans are crazy and this is and whatever. And I was like, what are you talking? Like, it's always a better reception on SmackDown.
Always. And you know why it is? Because they give the fans good wrestling. Generally. Yeah. They didn't this week. But you know what? Actually, you know what? Let me say this about the week, all right? Overall, we're going to be mad. We're going to break down the show. Like, we're going to get into that. I'm certainly going to be pissed off at certain things. Fundamentally, though, the show there was nothing wrong with the actual wrestling. And I'm going to say that time and time again. With Monday Night Raw and Tuesday Night SmackDown, the matches that we see, they are never bad. Whoever's in the ring, they are some of the most elite people in the world, right? Some of the best in-ring wrestlers. So the matches themselves were fine, all right? Some of the matches were a little better than others, obviously, but the matches were fine. We are talking about the booking of the shows. The fact that we don't care about Monday Night Raw anymore. The fact we don't care about SmackDown anymore. So let's get right into this thing. And the reason why I am so very, very mad is because Money in the Bank supposedly supposed to be one of your big 5 pay-per-views. They want to push it like that. And you are not giving us a reason to care about the individuals going into the show. Baron Corbin, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, and Ricochet. All right? All 4 superstars who belong in that match. The results are fine with getting people in this match. How didn't we have any qualifying matches for them? Seriously, we are how many weeks out from Money in the Bank? We're like 3-4 weeks, maybe less than a month. And we did not have qualifying matches to get into one of the biggest matches of the year. And you have a roster loaded with superstars who could qualify for it. Again, the 4 superstars that are picked to be from Monday Night Raw, I do not have anything against them being in this match. They absolutely deserve it. Braun's a monster of a human being. Ricochet's a great high flyer. Baron Corbin's one of the best heels inside WWE right now, and Drew McIntyre is a beast. They deserve to be in that match. But why excuse my language, there's going to be swearing today. Why the fuck couldn't there have been some sort of qualifying matches? Robert Roode versus Ricochet happened a week ago. And Robert Roode beat Ricochet, yet all of a sudden, a week later, Robert Roode isn't even getting the opportunity to qualify for Money in the Bank. This is a superstar that you have just decided to push. You gave him a new gimmick, and you push him to the sidelines because you can only book 1 week at a time.
So, I am not... Like, I'm not as angry with the fact that we didn't get qualifier matches. No qualifier matches would be better, and I would have liked them better. I'm not as angry that we didn't get qualifier matches. What I'm annoyed and confused by, as I said, like, is don't give us qualifier matches. I don't care. Just tell us who's in the match, but make it make sense, right? Like, if you're like, oh, listen, Robert Roode's on a bit of a streak. Okay, like, why is he in it? Like, Braun Strowman, like, explain, like, why, right? Like, oh, it makes sense that he's there because he was last year's winner. Like, why not?
Can I just ask you a question? I don't mean to completely interrupt you, though. When was the last time we had a Money in the Bank match where there was 0 qualifiers? And like,
oh no,
you know what I mean? Like,
different thing.
I'm fine if you wanted to say just throw Braun Strowman in the match and explain why he's in there, but when you've got all these superstars with only 4 spots, there's got to be at least one qualifier, right?
Especially because usually it's supposed to be a match that you want to use to boost someone's level. A Robert Roode would be great. A Mojo Rawley would be Apollo Crews, guys like those where you're like, oh, there's the possibility of if they're in the match and they happen to win, like, oh, their stock is so much bigger, they're so much better that way, yada, yada, yada. Whereas now we're like, okay, yeah, all of these guys like makes like Drew McIntyre in everyone's mind is already a main event player. Like he should be the next, like he should be Seth Rollins' SummerSlam opponent.
I agree.
Right? Like, and probably even take it off Seth at that time, possibly.
We're on the same wavelength.
Depending on how hot Seth is at the time, obviously, subject to change. Braun is always going to be Braun. You don't need to necessarily, though it helps him get up, you're not going to win it again. He won it last year and then lost. Like, why would you let him win it again? Now he's going to lose it, and if anything, it hurts him more. Ricochet, awesome. Great. I would love to see Ricochet in there. He's going to have some awesome spots. He's an up-and-coming young guy. All that. Great. Great pick. Baron, I get it because though he won it a few years ago, he's still just the biggest heel in the company.
Yep.
And he's such a dick that, like, if you really want some heat in that match, Baron's going to be the guy, right?
Exactly,
like,
man.
Tease it, where he's almost there. He's about to get it, and the crowd will just be so angry. So that stuff makes sense. It's just like it's certain guys, when you have other talent, like a Robert Roode and Apollo Crews, other guys on the roster where you're like, oh, maybe take a look at them.
What about Cedric Alexander? He just came
Cedric
from 205
Alexander would have
Live.
been cool. Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that these guys had to win the match. Like, once again, I will repeat this. I am okay with this being the 4 from Monday Night Raw that go into the match. But all I wanted was a little bit, like you said, there's confusion. All I want is a little bit of storytelling. Make us care about the matches. I'm going to be pissed off about this because you had a very basic opportunity for your whole show of Monday Night Raw to be about qualifying for Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And
now
they didn't.
Maybe they wanted to see how it would be received this way, and you can only really know by doing it. So don't be surprised if next year's Money in the Bank time they're doing qualifier matches.
True,
again.
but you gotta look at it from like
really did not go well.
From like just a wrestling fan, like these people who are making the decisions backstage, they've got to be somewhat wrestling fans when they grew up, right? To get in this business, you have to be. I wonder, is it seriously the writers sitting there back there being like, all right, I think I would love this as a fan. Really? That's what you would love? Or is it straight up the fact that they are not allowed to be risky with the writing, that they have to go very, very simple because maybe Vince McMahon believes kids can't understand in-depth storylines? Maybe that's who he's still trying to push the product towards. But there is a fundamental problem inside WWE right now, not giving the fans just good free TV. You know, I
just feel like, too, Vince McMahon has whereas I thought he was going to be stepping back a bit, I feel like he's leaned in a bit more in the since WrestleMania. And I see it not just in the writing. I don't see it just in like the storytelling aspect, but I see it in the character stuff as well. And I've liked some of the character stuff that they're doing. Obviously, Bray, we'll get to that. I'm really liking what's going on there. Especially because we haven't had the chance to talk about it first podcast in a couple weeks now. But I'm noticing it with the fact that Ricochet's now doing the shooting star press instead of the 630. And I'm like, okay, fine to finish it every once in a while, but when you make it a habit of that's how he's finishing, all of a sudden the shooting star press and the code breaker are his finishing moves.
Yeah. It's not as impressive as the 630.
What happened to the 630? And I doubt that it's from his side of things.
Yeah.
But like, whatever. I just
put it this way,
it's
like,
weird to go less impressive.
I absolutely agree with that. I think for TV, he should still be doing the 630. I totally understand if they want him doing like the shooting star press on like the live events or something to save his body, save 100%. The performers. But when you get around, this is again booking for TV. These are some of the most viewed shows on TV. Why would you not want to make your show as impressive as possible? The thing is that they don't seem to realize if you book superstars to be good early in their career, they are going to make you money 10 years down the line. You're going to build them into megastars. Think about when you started with John Cena. 10 years down the line, he turned the company into a billion-dollar business.
Yeah.
So you got to invest in your superstars early and treat them like they're going to be a big star. And as a result, the fans will accept them as a big star. We accepted the Shields as big stars because they debuted right in the main event, and they were pushed hard out of the start. Now, I'm not saying that's the way to go with every superstar that comes into the business, but look at Lacey Evans. She is in a title picture right now, and while a bunch of people are saying it's too soon, she is also a phenomenal athlete who can compete with the best of them. And she is being pushed.
I love her gimmick.
Her gimmick's great. Her gimmick's great.
I think it's unique and different and cool.
Yeah, and it's really, really good. It's something different, and she's being pushed at the top. So I will promise you guys this, in about 2-3 years' time, we are still going to see Lacey Evans as a top star in the WWE, as opposed to sometimes just working their way from the bottom. And don't get me wrong, there are superstars who do need to work from the bottom and get over with the fans and work their way up through the card. But certain superstars, if you are debuted early on and you are being pushed as a big star, fans will care about you as a big star, whether it's a face or a heel. And they are just not doing that. They are not giving us these reasons to care about the superstars, right? Like, they're just not.
No, and just to finish my point on the Ricochet thing is, like, and you had said, like, if they want him doing the shooting star on live events, great, but on TV doing this. But honestly, that's why I thought they introduced the code breaker.
That's what I thought.
I was like, okay, he did the code breaker. That's his like finishing move that he doesn't have to do the 630 every time, right?
Yeah.
Have a second one, right? Like Jericho got the code breaker because you don't want to use the walls of Jericho every time, right? Like guys had different things because you don't want to do.
Well, Daniel Bryan went from the label lock to the running knee. John Cena's now got that weird Super Saiyan punch, right? Like there's
you don't want to get. Although I haven't seen him do it in a while, but you don't want to get too locked down on. I need to do this one move, because I find it more if it's a submission move or if it's an aerial move. You need a move that you can just hit.
Yep.
And like win off that, right? So I liked that they introduced the code breaker for him. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But then all of a sudden I've seen him do shooting star press and shooting star press and shooting, and it's impressive. It looks great. But I'm like, oh, where's the 630? And then they did the same thing with Ali, where the 054 is now just a 450. And I'm like, that's not special.
Yep, exactly.
So
we've seen him before.
Have him still do the 054, but have him do something else. Give him a code breaker type move, right? Like a move that he can just hit.
Well, I don't know why they wouldn't go with his face buster out of the corner, where he rolls through and right up into the face buster and down. Make the guy sell it more to make it look like a more vicious move, and there you go. Like that's a possible finishing move to break out of the corner. It's just attention to detail, right? That's the big thing right now inside of WWE is they are not paying enough close attention to detail, and they have so many superstars right now that it's like it's random. Who do they want to push this week? Who's going to get a win out of our bag of tricks, right? And then it doesn't matter next week because they just draw out of a hat. They don't continue storylines to the point where it makes sense for the fans. There are very few superstars who have had consistent storylines for the past 4 months, right? Yeah. Very, very few. Miz being one of them. His rise has been great. He's one of the few superstars, though, who have stood out with a consistent storyline that advances every single week. Very few. But anyways, after all of those names were announced, we ended up getting a 2-on-2 match. Strowman and Ricochet defeated Corbin and McIntyre. And again, there was nothing physically wrong with this match. I thought the ending was good for McIntyre punching Corbin, and then leading to Ricochet and Strowman picking up the win. That was booking 101. I liked it. The match itself was fine. And I'm going to say that about a lot of matches this week. They were fine.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. All right, we then got the Usos versus Gallows and Carl Anderson, which, you know what, was actually a solid match.
I really liked this match. This was my match of the week. I'll just say it now.
Okay.
There wasn't a whole lot of good matches, and this one stood out to me. It was like, oh, no, this is a good match. And I really liked it because we actually got to see, though Gallows and Anderson lost, though the Good Brothers lost, and it was followed by a super weird, I did not like the promo following it.
Yeah.
But the match itself, I was like, oh, this is why these two teams are two of the best in the world. Like, and they're both amazingly talented. They're both incredible in that ring, and they can tell a story in the ring, and they did a great job. And the Usos won, which, like, it sucks in the aspect for the Good Brothers because Usos are the best team in the world. You don't want to have them losing, especially, I mean, they're not even going for the tag titles next. It's not even like they're building to that, which is weird. But
you know what? They're building towards Revival versus Usos, which should be a dream match, and I couldn't give two fucks about it right now because they've destroyed the Revival.
Yeah.
Like, I know that you were in the middle of a good point and everything, but I got to get this off my chest. Listen to who they've lost to over the past year. This is the Revival where their gimmick is the best tag team in the world. Hawkins and Ryder, Black and Ricochet, DIY, Rude and Gable, Lucha House Party with the Lucha House rules, B Team, Ziggler and McIntyre, Lashley and Reigns. Yep. That is everybody that they have lost to over the past year and multiple times to each team. Best tag team in the world, my ass. They suck. They suck.
I mean, if you want to lose to DIY, Ricochet and Black, and maybe Lashley and Reigns.
Yeah, you know what, though? Like, I get the losses when they happened, but the thing is that they have lost so much to teams like B Team, Lucha House Party.
That's what I'm saying.
Hawkins and Ryder. Like, don't get me wrong, Hawkins and Ryder was a good moment at WrestleMania. Revival should have won the titles back the very next night and become bigger heels. You know, if that's all you want. But, like, they just don't do this. It's such short-sighted booking again. And now you're having the Revival shave each other back. And I get it. It's a funny thing to happen in the meantime. And sure, it jumpstarts a feud if you want it to. But we're talking Usos versus Revival. We didn't need any stupid shit with it to sell that match. Just hype it up of two of the best tag teams in the world going at it, going against each other, and you've got a match. But you make them shave each other's back. You continue to have them lose for no reason. I'm just growing tired of it.
Yeah.
Do they not care about tag team wrestling?
I mean, I will say this. I found myself this week watching WWE and thinking, thank goodness AEW is starting in a couple weeks. Because I'm just intrigued to see, and honestly, like, I've been seeing some of the Impact's been doing, and I'm like,
Impact's been good.
I know. I'm like, honestly, I'm intrigued to start just seeing some other wrestling out there right now, because on a week-to-week basis, because the week-to-week with WWE sometimes is great. It's incredible, and it really hits home. Other times are like this week where it's just
garbage.
Bad. It's just not exciting. And I hate it because I should be excited. There's a lot of names that I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this and this and this. And I'm like, you're just not doing it right. And then it's the little things that you and I will notice. Maybe not everyone will notice, but it's the little things of Ricochet all of a sudden hitting a shooting star press instead of a 630, or Ali hitting a 450 instead of the 054. And I'm just like, why are we changing this now? Is it like because he's on a more consistent basis and because it's a more dangerous move that he could get hurt? I mean, Ali was already wrestling once a week on 205. Like, he was pretty much wrestling every week there.
It's because Vince doesn't watch the product. That was a Triple H run product. Think about that. Seriously think to where the core problem lies right now. And I love what Vince McMahon has built for us. I love what Vince has done with wrestling to get us to the point where we are able to watch the show weekly and care about the characters this much, right? He got wrestling to this point. But just because he got it to this point doesn't mean he won't be the one who destroys it as well. He has taken superstars that have organically gotten over. Mustafa Ali, Buddy Murphy, Andrade Cien Almas. The list goes on and on.
Where was Murphy this? Like,
nowhere to be seen. It also goes into the fact that they didn't do any freaking qualifying matches on SmackDown either for the match. They just put them all in, even though the way they revealed them was a little bit better because it was over the course of the night, right? But regardless, still, it just seems like when they get into Vince McMahon's hands, he wants to make it his own in some way. And whether that means a name change, a finisher change, a gimmick change, he doesn't realize that superstars, when they get to WWE, when they have all these social media followers, it is totally different than what you used to book back in the territorial days or back in the early 90s. Fans have access to these superstars' video long before they are ever a part of WWE. They know these superstars. They know what they can bring to the table. And if you change their crap on the fans where they have already gotten over in one way, you alienate them from that audience, and you make that audience only care about what you changed, not the superstar itself.
Yeah.
If you debut a superstar and take a name away, what are people talking about on Twitter after? The name change. Not the debut, the name change. Think of Viking Raiders now. When they were debuted as the Viking Experience, which we didn't get to talk about, what a freaking dumb name. When they debuted them as the Viking Experience,
I still don't like Viking Raiders.
I don't. It's at least better, but it's still not good.
It's better, but I still like. They're the War Raiders,
and here,
man.
The War Raiders are War Machine. They came in even with a better name to WWE. War Machine was awesome, but they just changed things for the sake of changing when they don't need to be changed. Sure, we look at it in hindsight, and Big E sounds maybe a little bit better than Big E Langston, but Big E sounds like a wrestling name. It's still two names, right? It's the Big Show. It's there's two names: John Cena, Randy Orton, The Undertaker. It's got multiple syllables. Ali, sure, you got two syllables, but all right, Ali. Andrade.
Andrade.
So where's the announcer's creativity when making their names feel better? Think about this. Justin Roberts goes out there to the ring for John Cena at WrestleMania. Coming down to the ring from Boston, Massachusetts. I can't say that word, just already letting you know. It is John Cena!
Well, even with the one-name superstars, like Edge, for instance, it was always like, the Rated R
Superstar!
Like, you always had something else with it. Now it's just Ali, or Andrade. And you're not going to be like, what's Andrade saying? El Idolo?
El Idolo. Yeah, El Idolo.
Yeah, El Idolo. Like, there's just something that's missing. And I think it's a little bit of ego in the aspect that Vince, like you said, always has to make it his own. Always has to do something a little bit like, it's my touch on it, right?
Yep. I'm going to make it mine. And if he succeeds, I'm going to be a genius. And if he fails, the wheel keeps on turning. It's on the performers because it's never on me, right?
Yeah.
It's always on the performers for not getting over. It's never Vince McMahon's fault. No, you got to book superstars to get over. Otherwise, they're jobbers. That's the difference between jobbers and main eventers, how they are booked. Yeah. At a fundamental level, that's exactly what it is.
100% agree. I don't understand what's happening with certain people. And even, I don't know, it's just a weird time because normally Money in the Bank is one of my favorite, most exciting pay-per-views of the year. And it's the aspect that I'm just like, I don't really looking through the two matches, I'm trying to think who I legitimately want to win and who I think should win, and I'm just like, no one jumps out at me, right? There's a few, maybe more in the women's than in the men's.
See, I've got it kind of backwards. I'm thinking the men's have a few more obvious ones who could run with the briefcase than the women's. Like, the women still have decent sides, but like,
I think like Bayley, Ember.
Yeah, I think your options
Naomi.
would be, Naomi wouldn't be bad. I floated out this idea. It all depends if Sasha Banks is able to return or not. Like, if WWE has just been keeping her to the sidelines, but I'm not sure if you saw the tweet. But my idea here was that if Sasha is able to go, why not have her attack Dana Brooke at Money in the Bank, play on this fact that Dana Brooke is bitching about not getting opportunities and then having another one stole away from her. There you go. You can add to her character right there, and have Sasha Banks go into the match, turning her heel, winning the briefcase, and cashing in on Becky 2 belts after Charlotte beats her down. You have a new SmackDown Women's Champion then.
My only thing with it is I think it's time for a face woman. Like, but Money in the Bank.
Here's the thing with that. If you're gonna, my only thought process with this is trying to get one of the belts off Becky Lynch, because you don't want both belts on her when you're clearly not unifying them, right?
Yeah.
You got to get that belt back to SmackDown Live. It's been fun for Becky 2 belts. You got to get that back, and you got to do it in a big, meaningful way. A way that isn't Charlotte just beating her for the title, right? Because that falls flat. That falls back to before WrestleMania. That falls to a point where we're going backwards. And we have always said this. You want to move forward in wrestling. You never want to move backwards. And if Sasha Banks is available, great. If not, then you can do something like that with somebody else, or you can have somebody else win the briefcase and cash in on Becky that night if you wanted, or the following Tuesday night on SmackDown, whatever. I would just like to see if Sasha Banks is available. I think that would be such a fun little swerve, seeing her attack Dana Brooke, because she doesn't really fit in with the other competitors right now. You know, she's not as good of an in-ring worker, not as good on the microphone, kind of bland. And her whole story is she doesn't get opportunities, but yet she's been given 2 opportunities within like the last little bit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird story for Dana Brooke. I would like her removed from the match if possible, but I don't know if we're going to get that.
No, like, I think she's definitely the weakest spot. I think, like, and again, this is back to not having qualifying matches. It's weird, but at the same time, like, I understand a lot of the names, like, as far as level of, if you think of it in a UFC type of format, right, where it's like rankings based off how they are record wise and yada yada yada, right, where they fall that way. Like, it kind of makes sense for the most part of the men and women in those matches of where they fall, right? Mm-hmm. There's a few where you're like, okay, like, you're just kind of but I also don't like it because I think of the match as an opportunity where, like, even though you doubt someone's going to win, it's still like, oh, that would be really big for them. Like, I remember back when, like, Shelton Benjamin was in it, or Finley, or like Ric Flair at like 60 years old, like stuff like that, where you're like, oh, like, I doubt they're going to win, but that would be huge if they did. Like, it would just be something really different that you're not expecting. And they're in the match, so they have the opportunity, even if they don't win, but they have the opportunity, right? So, like, that stuff, I guess, is always interesting to me, to be like, okay, but now all of a sudden we're doing it where it's like 7 people that pretty much legitimately could go, you could just gradually, naturally build to a championship opportunity. They don't need the briefcase by any means. They're already that level of person where, like, oh yeah, if you put Seth Rollins up against Drew McIntyre, or even Baron Corbin, as much as that would be annoying, whatever, but he's the biggest heel, you would still, as a fan, be like, okay, I get it. Like, I get it. I understand how you got there. You don't need the briefcase for it, right? A Ricochet, sure, the briefcase. Like, certain guys like that, or like Dana Brooke, the briefcase obviously would make more sense. Ember, to an extent, like stuff
Ember
like that.
Ember Moon makes a lot of sense as a Money in the Bank champion. She really does. Yeah.
So, like, that stuff, you're like, okay, the briefcase makes sense for those people, but a lot of them, like, nobody would complain if like Bayley or Naomi just got a title opportunity, if they built it well to the next pay-per-view. We'd be like, oh yeah, those are both former champions that are still at the top of the card. It makes sense. You built it the proper way. Yeah. all they need to do is pick up one win against the champion, even in a tag match or something, by like getting the pin and be like, okay, well, they beat her once, they deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need a lot of these people in the match.
I think it's just a giant misstep not to even have Ruby Riott in the match as well. Like,
oh yeah,
like what did she do wrong? She was battling Ronda freaking Rousey not too long ago. She is the top heel, basically, who isn't in that top echelon of superstars, right? Like on the women's side,
broke up the Riott Squad.
Yeah, like that. I get
Sarah
that happens.
Logan, man.
Sarah Logan,
put
like
Sarah Logan. I don't even care if Ruby's not in the match. Put Sarah Logan in the match.
She had a great showing in that battle royal. Like, the thing is they get momentum behind superstars and then they forget about them. Why was not Sarah Logan immediately on Monday Night Raw after she was the second last in that women's battle royal?
Mm-hmm.
That was almost a star-making performance where Carmella went there and eliminated her from behind. Speaking of which, Carmella looking more and more like a heel. More and more like a heel again. Very interesting as she shifted from the Battle Royal, eliminating her from getting outside of the ring, to now being all about Mela is money, and she's going back to being sassier.
They showed her kind of transition, not like B-Team that just all of a sudden is aligned with Shane.
Yeah, that one I think makes more sense in the fact that they were brought over for an opportunity. They weren't really looking like too big of heels. But, like, they still were acting in heel way for the match, right? But
yeah, I just didn't get it because I'm like, you didn't show us anything of how that came to be. All of a sudden, they're just heels. Or it's not even like a return where it's like someone's out and then they return as a heel. That's different, right?
It's very different. And also, that spot should have been saved for AOP or something like that. Like, because I know that they're kind of injured right now, but why couldn't you have had like just Akam or Rezar come out in a one-on-one match against Roman and really be like a threat? Like, you see these guys, they're big, right? They're absolute mammoth of men, and they've got nothing going for them right now. With a really, really weak SmackDown tag division, they would be awesome in it because...
Are Primo and Epico still on the roster, by the way?
So
I legitimately thought it was going to be them. I was like, oh, who was a heel that we last saw?
Yeah,
that's been out for a while or something, and would kind of make sense is like, just like, oh, they're gonna lose, and then it was B Team, and I was like, why? Like, their characters are the exact same. They're still B Team, go.
Yeah,
that's not a heel team.
It is not a heel team whatsoever.
The only heelish thing is if they're going kind of the way that Bo Dallas was when he was a heel. When he, like, the Bo leave, like that type
I'm not sure if that's where they're going with it, because I remember reading somewhere that WWE recently filed for a trademark called the B-Team University. So I don't know what that means, what they got planned going forward, but it sounds like another goofy comedy spot.
Yeah.
More what we need of inside WWE. Just the common theme is that it's lazy booking. Everywhere. Yeah. It's lazy booking, not giving, again, fans a reason to care about the show that is going on in front of them. Let's quickly talk a little bit about Bray Wyatt, though, man. So
I love it.
Me too.
I love it so much. I'm intrigued. I'm ready for Bray. I love him as a performer. This dude is wild. His little, like, at the end, and the little
all you gotta do
where you sense the dark
is let me in. Bye. like
the little like where all of a sudden he's like, all you need to do is let me, like, you see the dark, like, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. What are you trying to do?
It's
like,
just,
what is it?
It needs to get more and more creepy as well. It needs to dive further towards like Saw as well, like just that creepy. Like, oh man, and I am really hoping that
they don't
the the buzzard is going to turn out to be Eric Young, and Penny the Witch is going to turn out to be Nikki Cross.
And who's going to end up being?
I don't know. The rabbit is the one that is
rabbit. Yeah. That's what I was, because I saw your tweet about that. Or I saw about that, like Eric Young and Nikki Cross, and then I was like, well, who would be the rabbit?
Yeah, because that wasn't there beforehand.
No.
This is a new character. Also, what's really cool in the background of like the Bray Wyatt thing, you saw that photo that was hanging up in the background before he hung up like the house being burnt, right? His painting.
Yeah.
That was a picture of Sister Abigail coming out of the ground.
Was it?
It is. So I can actually, can I screen cap this really quick? Yeah, I can. Yeah, so just in the background there, Sister Abigail is raising herself out of the ground, and I wonder if that means that something else could be coming. Do you see that right in the side there? That little photo? Yeah, just to the left there, Sister Abigail just raising out of the ground. So that could be a sign of things to come as well. Like,
the one thing I wasn't huge on this week with the Bray Wyatt stuff is they showed it on Raw, great, and then they showed the exact same bit on SmackDown as well. And this is me nitpicking about it, but I was like, either show two different things or only show it once.
Yeah,
I get why, but at the same time, I'm like, as a fan who's watched both shows, I already saw this. This is now a 5-minute bathroom break for me because I don't need to watch it again.
I absolutely agree. And I think I could understand why they're putting it on both shows as well. Like you said, like for fans who miss it, for the casual audience, whatever. It needs to be on there on both shows. I totally get it. And I absolutely
And believe it or not, some people only tune into SmackDown or only tune into Raw. So I get it.
Absolutely. Just the one thing with that I will say is I just don't know if he's going to be on Raw or SmackDown. Right? He could be on SmackDown. He could be on Raw. It feels like a Raw gimmick. It does. It feels like something that should be on the flagship 3-hour show where they really have time to run with the vignettes.
It's tough to do vignettes on SmackDown. You just don't have the same type of time.
At the same time, SmackDown has been moving more to a promo-heavy style of show with only a handful of wrestling throughout it. So I could also see Bray Wyatt flourishing on that show. He hasn't been on SmackDown in a little bit. When he was on SmackDown, he became the WWE champion. Just there's one major question that lies with this. How does this transition into an in-ring performance? You know, what is that transition going to be? And that is the major question that is going to be surrounding Bray Wyatt's character if this can continue to be as good as it is once he steps inside the ring.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what goes on when that happens and when that's going to be. But I think as of right now, he's been great. He's getting me excited because I was already excited for him to be back. I mean, as a fan of wrestling, as a fan of him, knowing what he can do, I was already excited. And then this is just so different but the same, if that makes any sense.
Yep, it makes total sense.
So different but the same. And I'm like, I like it because it's still true Bray Wyatt. It's still the character that like we have learned to love, right? And like connect to. But it's in a different way where you're like, okay, I'm intrigued to see where this goes. And I do think it's going to be different once he's in the ring. But I think he has the talent to continue to do it. I think he's doing a great job on social media.
Yes.
As far as keeping up with it as well.
Also, kind of a cool little thing to quickly jump in there with social media. Bray Wyatt replied to like a fellow YouTuber on Twitter reacting to the Firefly Funhouse segment. Do you know Wrestling Days? Yeah. So Wrestling Days, very, very similar size channel, does very similar stuff to what we do here. And he got a reply from Bray Wyatt, literally didn't mention him at all or anything like that. He was just literally replied.
The Firefly Funhouse.
Yeah, and Bray Wyatt replied with something like, keep going. Just that's it. Keep going. I thought that was just so cool. So he's doing a good job with social media as well. But yeah. What do you say? Let's move into Becky Two Belts and Lacey Evans.
Yeah. Do you want to just rip through the actual Raw recap quick? We don't actually have to talk about it.
Yeah. It was
Lashley
fine.
defeated Miz with help from Shane coming out, distracting him. What do we have? Viking Raiders defeated Lucha House Party. The right call, obviously. Yep. Although I think that Lucha House Party got way too much offense in on that.
I get what they were trying to do. They were playing the numbers and the fact that they snuck attacked them. I wasn't opposed to that segment. You know, I thought it built them up fine.
I just thought it was weird, like how at one point it was just Lince Dorado, was it?
Yeah.
And he was like actually getting in good offense against them. I'm like, what? This is your like team, and you're just letting them get.
What I will say,
stumbly from it.
Yeah, what I will say with that, I agree. When you're trying to book somebody like the Viking Raiders here, you want to put them over as strong as possible. And when you've had superstars like Kalisto, Lince Dorado, and Grand Metalik not be the most over superstars on the main roster, it makes them look a little weak. I absolutely do agree. However, they have been showing more of their chops on 205 Live recently, right? And they get a lot of airtime over there. And I totally understand WWE's attempt to make their 205 Live superstars look good against some heavyweights. I understand that idea, but again, it was poorly executed, especially early on against the Viking Raiders. You know, you want to build them up to be strong. That honestly should have been the spot where B-Team went in against them. And because B-Team is more over as a babyface, and that could have been their farewell from Monday Night Raw before they ended up on SmackDown, giving them momentum going into SmackDown Live.
Yeah.
Right? Little things, little booking. Everybody's got to be booked well to get people over. It's all right. What is next though on the list to talk about?
Bliss introduced the women's stuff. It was her, Naomi, Dana, and Natty, which we talked about.
Yeah, I like the way Bliss revealed herself. I thought that was a great heel move.
She's confusing me.
Is she? Okay.
Because there's moments where she seems like she's possibly kind of turning face-ish, and then all of a sudden she does that, and I'm like, oh no, you're still a heel. But then like 2 weeks earlier, the week earlier, whatever, when she had Sami on Moment of Bliss, she's kind of defending the universe, and she's kind of ripping on Sami, and I'm like,
I get where you're coming from.
Face, or are you transitioning to a face, or are you just a heel that's just doing random things?
I think she's going to be one of those superstars who are going to be a tweener for a while, because she is incredibly over with the casual audience, and she is incredibly disliked right now by the hardcore audience because she's good at her job. She's working them like crazy. And so it's a very weird combination, right? Because the casual audience loves her. She's gorgeous. She's got a great smile. She puts on good matches. Like, I believe she's like a 5-time women's champ or something like that.
Yeah,
she's known.
Absurd.
She's known by the casual audience, right?
Crazy.
And so I totally understand this idea of playing with both sides, sometimes defending them, sometimes not. And it keeps her character fresh each and every single week. Sure, it'll be confusing if she's on the babyface side or the heel side, but if that's the way we're starting to move forward with characters where there's not so much as good and bad and it's more so shades of gray, she could be a really good transitional character for a lot of people to bring that out of them. We saw that with Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Ronda Rousey, the shades of gray. Why not Alexa Bliss too, right?
Yeah. Then Naomi defeated her. Which was, I mean, Naomi's great. I love Naomi. So either one of those could have won that. It's just whatever. Then Becky Two Belts and Lacey Evans get into a nice little brawl.
It was good. The promo was fine beforehand. I liked how Lacey Evans just went right down and showed that she is not afraid to get her hands dirty.
Nope.
You know what? I'm all in on this Lacey Evans character. We talked about this when she first debuted, that she's got a character that can go far. She really does. Yeah. Very, very high on Lacey Evans.
I can't remember if it was, I think it was on Raw. She was getting interviewed in the ring by Charlie Caruso. Or was that SmackDown?
Wait, Becky Lynch?
I think it was Raw. Yeah.
I think it was Becky Raw. Lynch, yes, Charlie Caruso on Raw. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, I littlest thing, but just like kudos to Becky on being amazing, because the littlest things that she does, like the fact that she just, like Charlie said something, I think she said like, let's take a look at the preview or whatever of this, and then it was just like showing what happened the week earlier. And Becky just looks at her and she's like, that's not a preview. She's like, that's a reminder or whatever. And then she's like, you know what? You're done, Chuck. And she just called Charlie Chuck. And the littlest thing of that, I was like, oh my God. Like the fact that she calls Charlie Caruso Chuck is so small. And I don't think anyone should love it as much as I do. But I do love it so much because I'm like, Chuck is a nickname, a traditional classic nickname short form of Charles or Charlie. So it's hilarious that she's like, Chuck, you're done, give me the mic, like takes it from her. And I'm just like, Oh,
it's
Becky,
really, I don't know why we
so
haven't tried to create more of a dialogue between the interviewers, right? Think about Mean Gene. How many people had something with Mean Gene back in the day? Like, when we're talking about a commentator who is over and a person of the announce team who is over, that's how you get it. That's how you create the memorable moments, by giving them little nicknames like Chuck. Or think about when Kevin Owens was constantly ribbing Tom Phillips and not calling him by his right name. These are moments that we remember, right? And it gets the announcer over throughout the long term. Again, always giving some sort of storyline to your performers. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be like, anything grand. Just small little storylines that they can continue from week in, week out, that gives them a character.
Yeah.
Characters that we can care about. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And there's one other either superstar or group. Something tells me it's New Day. It might not be. Someone else, though, who would do it where they're like, hey, you're not this person. And they just like point it out like, you're not Charlie.
It was Chris Jericho, right?
Was it?
Yeah,
Jericho?
I'm pretty sure it was Jericho with his list.
I know like there's been a few and they're just where they're like, you're not this person. Like, where's this interviewer? Like, where's Charlie? Where's Charlie? You're Kathy.
Yeah.
Like, where's Charlie? Right? And it's just like the littlest things like that just make you be like, oh, I should know who this person is.
You should. By the way, did you see that new person on the announce team? I forget who it was, the blonde bimbo who could barely put together 3 seconds of sentences. Like, she stumbled all over her lines. It was on Monday Night Raw, I'm pretty sure.
On the interview team?
Yeah, on the interview team. It was either Raw or SmackDown. I can't remember. But
I think it was SmackDown.
Okay, but
I did notice. I was like, who is that?
Yeah, and she butchered her like first 3 lines.
You know who's been butchering lines lately?
Who's that?
Shane fucking McMahon.
Yeah.
Jesus, take the microphone out of his goddamn hand. Both weeks, last week and this week, he's just butchering lines. Like his words just aren't coming out right.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Is he just not good as a heel? Like,
I don't know, man. It's just like he's just literally just saying words wrong. He's Don Cherrying it.
Yeah.
Hardcore. God. And for any of you non-Canadians out there and non-hockey fans, Don Cherry, just YouTube Don Cherry highlights and
good old Canadian kid.
He's just butchers names brutally. He's just all over the map with his words. But yeah, Shane's been bad. She wasn't great, but also I'll give her benefit of the doubt. Like, she's new, nervous. First time I've ever seen her.
Yeah, she's got to be nervous for sure. But
nervous, 100%.
Those are the people where you get them their reps down in NXT. Announce teams are no different than anybody else. Get them their reps. Do it over and over. Get TV experience, and then put them on the main roster. Don't just put somebody right there without earning their stripes and getting through.
Even on 205. Do it on 205 or 205, UK or whatever.
Like Aiden English, prime example.
Right?
He's been good on commentary.
I like him.
Yeah.
But you're not just going to throw him on SmackDown or Raw.
Exactly. It's what happened with Renee Young as well. I would have liked to see her be more on the announce team down in NXT for longer. I know she used to be back in the day, but before she jumped right on the main roster, why not have her go alongside Mauro freaking Ranello and teach her how to be one of the best play-by-play / color commentators there is? Don't get me wrong, I like Renee Young on the main roster still, but she still does have those moments where you're like, okay, she's still new to commentating.
I think that if Corey wasn't on that team with her, it would be much worse.
It would be atrocious.
I think that her chemistry and friendship with Corey Graves helps it so much because they play off each other so well.
Yeah,
I think that he does a great job of keeping her interactive, and she does and because of how good he is at just being terrible, it gives her an opportunity to be like, oh, I'll go the opposite of you. Mm-hmm. When you're good, I'll be bad. When you're bad, I'll be good, and stuff like that. So I think they do a great job with that. But I think if Corey wasn't there, it would be drastically different for her.
It really would be. Corey Graves is so good at commentating. Mm-hmm. Like, it sucks that we never got his in-ring career because it was looking like it was going to be promising as hell. Mm-hmm. But man, like, Corey Graves on commentary, that is one of those things where it's like a blessing in disguise. Because I know Corey Graves could have probably been, a solid mid-carder inside WWE and cut some
tag
awesome,
team guy,
awesome promos, right? Like, that is absolutely on the wall if he was able to stick with wrestling. But him as commentator, I think he is going to be a voice of a generation. I think he's going to be an eventual Hall of Famer for his commentating skills. He is just so damn good at his job. Like, he really is.
Yeah, he's great. And it's the littlest things. Even just like how they're showing the women's Money in the Bank match, and he's like, oh no, he's like the goddess and God's greatest creation in the same match. Who am I? Like, what am I gonna do? And they're just like, we
settle down, Corey. Like, yeah. Really quickly though, as we were talking about Renee Young there, did you see the news with Dean Ambrose and the new vignette hyping up the return of Jon Moxley?
I saw on Twitter. I'm
so excited. Him breaking out of the prison of WWE, being chased by a big dog. I thought that was so freaking funny. The little details there.
Excited, man.
It just proves what you can do when you get those chains taken off by Vince McMahon. His first promo thing, I believe it's got like 15K retweets. His first tweet he ever releases, 15K retweets. People enjoy wrestling still. We enjoy good storylines. We just don't enjoy Raw or SmackDown right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's because of the booking. The talent is there for sure. Anyways, though, very, very excited about Dean Ambrose / Jon Moxley. I'm going to try to start referencing him to just Jon Moxley now because that's his name.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, also just, I told you so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know. I was so caught. Put it this way, man. I am a Dean Ambrose fan. I loved him. And it was so much in my heart. I didn't want to see him go that I convinced it in my mind that it was a work and that it was going to be a good work and it was going to be good TV. And it just, no. Anyways, let's talk about...
And the fact, the way that they did it was so different and unique and weird that we were like,
yeah,
I don't know. WWE doesn't seem like the type of industry, like the type of company to just be like, oh, no, we're completely okay with you leaving. Mm-hmm. Like, even guys that requested.
Considering people that have requested release and there being time added on. Did you hear about, like, the Revival getting, or at least Dash Wilder, added 2 months onto his contract due to injury? How petty can you be? They added
just
6 months
things down. I'm like, you have no plan of using us well. Like Luke Harper, you have no plan of using. Give me a legitimate rundown of what you plan on doing with me in the next year, and I will be like, okay. And you have nothing for me. Why should I stay?
They are independent contractors, and imagine hiring an independent plumber when you already have 7 or 8 plumbers and you don't need them to do any work.
Yeah.
Right? You're bringing the plumber there, yet you're telling them just wait on the sidelines. We'll let you know when a toilet's clogged and we need you to go out there and fix it.
Also, too, like, I don't know. There was a reason why way back in the day, like, cross promotion was pretty big, like way back, right? Like Hulk Hogan used to go over to New Japan, like guys like that would come over. Like there was a cross promotion aspect that if they were able to work out and Chris Jericho tried to do it when he was in NJPW.
Yep.
Where he said, I'm the Intercontinental Champion here. Seth Rollins is the Intercontinental Champion there. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. Let's have a 3-match thing.
And why not? Like, we're not dumb anymore.
Shut it down.
Right? We're not dumb. It's no longer just the WWE with a bunch of other promotions that we don't know about. We don't know these wrestlers from and we don't care about. No, the internet has allowed wrestling to grow bigger than it's ever been, and that's a good thing. Like, this is an incredibly good thing, but WWE, a.k.a. Vince McMahon, is so stuck in his ways. And that is the case with a lot of older generations as well. You are stuck in your ways. You are not willing to adapt to what is happening in front of you. And I will say this much, WWE has been great at adapting with social media, being ahead of the curve with the WWE Network, and knowing where to take their business. But what they forgot to advance is the storylines and the characters to update them to 2019. They just totally forgot to do that. And I don't know where it got lost along the way, but it happened. And we need to fix it somehow.
100%. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Let's talk. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Sami Zayn though, really, really quickly, because I thought he was the standout of Monday Night Raw with his promo. The only thing with him there, and I'm not sure if you're going to say the same thing, is that he's alienating the casual fans, because the casual fans aren't the ones going onto Twitter and bitching about everything, right? He's straight up alienating them. So find a way to bring the casual fans into it somehow, and I think you got a gem with Sami. What about you? What are you thinking?
I think I love Sami, and I think he's doing a great job with this current character. I think that we're running into a little bit of a situation where we were just talking about with Bray Wyatt. How does this reflect on his in-ring? How is he's still not wrestling. He wrestled one match on his first night back, and then he's had 3 weeks of complain about the fans. And he's like legitimate. And I liked this week the aspect of people were like leave then. And he's like, I would love to. Like, I love that aspect of adding that in. But I'm just like, okay, you got to do something with it now. And this isn't on him. This is on the writing. And where do you go from here? What does he do? Does he do a thing where, like Randy Orton was doing a little bit, where he's like, okay, now I'm going to start attacking your favorites, right? The ones that give you that reassurance, the John Cenas, the Ricochets, the like guys like that, where you're like, oh, that's my favorite. Like, sign this autograph. Like, do you start attacking them? Do you start doing something different rather than just coming out to the ring and venting essentially every week? Yeah. And how does it replay into your in-ring? Because it needs to. It has to somehow transition into that, because you are a wrestler.
You need to kind of do the same type of transition that you did with Drew Gulak, going from the PowerPoint presentations to being annoying to the no-fly zones to now being one of the better, more respected in-ring workers on 205 Live. They did that in a very, very subtle transition, right? And you kind of need to do the same thing with Sami Zayn, I think. Still have him be that person who comes out and holds the fans accountable, but start holding the fans accountable in different ways. You guys were mad over last week that this guy lost or whatever. Well, guess what? I'm going to beat him again. You know, I'm going to the ring to take my frustrations from all of you. All of you can go to hell. You know, I'm going to beat your favorite. And that idea of, like you said, with Randy Orton attacking the favorites, you can kind of do with Sami Zayn. But you got to find a way to continue to have him be the one who holds the fans accountable, because I think that's a great thing to have in 2019. But also find a way, like you said, to transition into an in-ring product that will make sense, that can sell money, that can sell seats.
And it can also be great from the in-ring standpoint of if there's, and we always see it, there's moments where in-ring match is going on and the crowd starts getting a little just antsy, like they start chanting certain things, and certain moments like that where you can play on that with his character currently. They could start chanting on something, and all of a sudden he could just get out of the ring and grab the mic and be like, you guys
done
don't
now?
Deserve it.
You done now?
You don't deserve it, and just leave. Take the count out loss. Right?
Yeah, like his character can be a guy who loses in so many different ways, who just doesn't give the fan. Yeah, and just doesn't care. He just doesn't give the fans a full-on match, you know?
Yeah, like, you guys think that I care about losing?
Yeah.
No. Like,
I'm here to show you. I am here to show you that I am still okay when I am outside of this toxic realm of WWE.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't plan on putting up with this toxicity today. Go to hell, and leaves.
Yeah, even that, like, have him get announced for a match, come out, and then just, like, all of a sudden, like, react to the crowd, have a little promo, and then they introduce his opponent, and then he could just, like, no, nope. I'm not doing it.
Nope.
And just leave. And, like, that stuff, where he's still remembered as a wrestler, because right now he's just some guy that's coming out and ranting to me. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, do something with it.
I absolutely
agree. Or about it.
Yeah, I think we should. Here's the thing, that we could have also gotten a qualifying match with Sami Zayn versus somebody. He could have lost that, and it could have fueled more of this character that the fans are toxic and that WWE is toxic and the chants were the reason why he lost, and the fans are so distracted with their own chants that he got distracted with it, and for a moment he fell into the fans' trap, and he promises to never allow it to happen again. You know, something like that.
He seems like the perfect type of character to have an excuse for every loss.
And I hope that he does. I hope he does something like the Iconics, not to the point of the Iconics being so funny and everything, but definitely having some sort of excuse, right? Like the Iconics, like Peyton Royce saying she was dehydrated the one week and then she drank too much water the next. I thought that was hilarious. The fact that Billy Kay is saying, like, you know, if there's one thing you need to know about us is we go to the bathroom faster than anybody else. Like, these little things that they say still keep them as a heel, keep them over the top serious with everything in their mind, but it ends up being hilarious to everybody else. And Sami Zayn could also move into a character of that role, right? Like, eventually down the line, his antics could be comedic, but not for the purpose of being comedic, if that makes any sense.
Ray?
Yeah, Ray and Joe.
It's fine. Ray got a win, which is okay.
It was sloppy, though. It was sloppy.
Yeah, why is Dominic there?
I think, honestly, it's to get Samoa Joe more heat when he beats up Dominic. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
And Dominic can take bumps because he trains. Like, he's training to be a wrestler, so he knows at least he's done them before.
Yeah, like he's enough to go into the Coquina Clutch, you know, and stay in there and sell it for his dad. I don't know if they're planning on having some more matches here between Joe and Ray or whatever. But it's again, it falls into 50-50 booking. But the problem with this 50-50 booking is you're 50-50 booking veterans. That means that they're not advancing anywhere, right? These stories are being very, very stagnant right now.
Yeah.
I think Joe is going to beat up Dominic at some point. I think that has to happen. He's been around TV too much for there not to be some sort of payoff with that. Or maybe it's not Dominic that gets beat up by Samoa Joe. Maybe it's somebody else that ends up doing it, and that kickstarts the next feud, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, but I think Dominic is there with the sole purpose of getting whatever feud that it's going to be involved in.
Maybe Dominic is going to get a United States Championship opportunity at Money in the Bank.
You never know.
He's got to beat his dad for it.
Maybe we're going to get another custody of Dominic match between Joe and
I think he's Ray. A little bit older.
I'm gonna say this much. Dominic looks like he could be more of Samoa Joe's son than he does Rey Mysterio's.
He's like a foot taller than Ray.
Like, it's ridiculous.
He's a big boy.
How tall's Ray's wife? Or at least the mother
of
her
brothers, or something like that. How tall's the men on that side of the family? Because Ray is not a big guy, as we all know.
He is not. Let's talk about the main event, the contract signing that should have been more hyped up than it was. We're talking about a face-to-face between the best, you could call them best wrestlers from their generations. Styles versus Rollins, but
I think the match is going to be great.
Yep.
I think that we know that the match is going to be great. I think that we didn't need AJ attacking Seth. I think that I would have been fine with just the
stare down.
The stare down, and even keeping it respectful. I don't even care. It's just the aspect of that. It just fell short for me. I wasn't huge on it. I'm still excited for the
was there a little quote throughout it where Styles said something about having like a club at his back or a club at his disposal? Am I just making that up, or was that mentioned somewhere in the promo?
Now that you mention it, I don't know.
I want to say he mentioned something very subtle about a club of his own. I could be wrong.
Well, because he did mention how are you doing, like, without your brotherhood, your backup.
So anyways, I want to pass the question to you, man. Would it be too soon if, say, the club did get involved, Gallows and Anderson, now that they're on Raw, is it too soon to put the title right on AJ Styles and take it off Rollins after the WrestleMania build?
I mean, no, it's never going to be too soon for AJ, right? Mm-hmm. Like, AJ will always be a successful champion. He'll face Doesn't matter who he's taking it off. Doesn't matter. The only thing is if it's going to hurt Seth too much.
And the thing is, I could totally see, as long as AJ Styles turned heel, like full heel, like full on dark side turn with the club, you know, and then it created Seth Rollins chasing the title again. And we got a story that followed out of that. Like, because sometimes, you know, babyfaces need to chase titles. That sometimes the chase is better than the babyface reign afterwards, right?
It's reaching the mountaintop, the journey to the mountaintop and getting there is what, as fans, we get excited about. It's not them staying at the mountaintop.
Yeah, I absolutely
We're like,
agree.
great, I don't care, you've been champion. Like, even, honestly, I love Kofi. I'm already like, the build was so much better than...
The build was definitely better than what's happening right now.
Yeah,
I think Kofi Kingston is unfortunately falling into the fact that he doesn't have the New Day brothers beside him, right? Big E getting injured. It was a very unfortunate injury, right? But I will also say this about Kofi Kingston is he still found a way to make me care about that main event and care about the whole contract signing or whatever it was, the Kevin Owens show, I should say. And I want to see him beat up Kevin Owens. I want to see Kofi Kingston get his hands on KO.
Yeah.
But you're right. The build going into WrestleMania had Kofi Kingston on a much higher level. Same with Becky Lynch. Same with Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
You know, and now we got the baby faces at the mountaintop, but they're all baby faces. So
yeah, we have no heels up there where it's like we have no baby face to support right now.
Exactly.
Because even our
mid card champions, like Samoa Joe's a heel, sure. Our tag team champions in the Hardys just released the belts. And Finn Balor's the IC champion, you know.
Kurt and Zach are
a Raw tag, and Tony Nese is 205 Live tag. Johnny Gargano is the NXT champion.
We have a lot. Velveteen's
he's an in-betweener,
so he's a tweener. And then
the War Raiders, Viking Raiders. They are the NXT tag champs.
Are they still being called War Raiders on NXT, though?
To be quite honest, I didn't watch the last couple weeks, so I don't know. Can find out tonight.
I hate that they think... I don't know. I wouldn't even say that they think we're stupid as fans. I just hate that they do that. Where, like, there's a bunch of fans, like you and I, or pay attention to NXT still and know and watch and stuff, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh sweet, they're finally getting called up to Raw. Wait, why did they change their name?
And why don't they have the tag titles with them up on Raw?
Yeah,
it's one
weird.
thing that is also going to really irk me is if you had plans to bring them up that soon after WrestleMania, why didn't somebody else win the Dusty Tag Classic like the Forgotten Sons or something and go on to take the titles off of them? Yeah. Right? Like, I'm not saying I want to see the Forgotten Sons as tag champs right now. You could have done Street Profits. You could have done Mustache Mountain. You could have done a bunch of people to take the titles temporarily off of them. Undisputed Era. Yeah, Undisputed Era.
And that's a way that you could have done it that makes sense why War Raiders would lose, because Undisputed Era would obviously cheat to win.
Yep.
They have the numbers advantage. Somebody illegally interferes, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, they lost the titles. Sweet, now they're on Raw. And I get it from the aspect of maybe the losing at NXT TakeOver makes you be like, oh, they're getting called up.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, they're called up.
Yeah,
like,
they're called up. And we don't know for sure until we watch Raw, right? Like, we can have an idea, but the thing is we get that idea in our head and we get excited for Raw. You know, we're like, oh, we might be seeing a call-up tonight. Yo, let's watch Raw. That's called hype, WWE. It's good for your show. It makes people tune in.
Yep.
All right. Let's quickly talk about SmackDown Live as we are now over an hour. Again, the show falls into lazy booking. It was better than Raw, but again, it fell into lazy booking with the Money in the Bank, both the men's and women's, just announcing them. I know you're not against it. Majority of people out there wanted to see some sort of qualifier, some sort of additional thing added to Money in the Bank to make you
I think
care
they'll go
about
back
it.
to it next year. I think that next year, 100% they'll go back to qualifiers. This year just fell way too flat.
Yep. But the thing is, that is now, we're talking about the past two Money in the Banks. The winners have not gone on to do much with them. Right?
No,
they have not. It's been
Alexa won.
Yep.
Carmella won.
Mm-hmm. Twice. Carmella won twice. Remember that? A man pulled it down.
No,
first.
I mean they used them to win them.
Oh yes,
they used the briefcase to win, both women's in the last 2
Corbin
years.
Lost,
and Braun lost.
Yeah, and Braun lost. So there's just, we need a winner. The Money in the Bank should be the mid-card title of this day. It should be the Intercontinental title of this day, used to elevate people. That's what Money in the Bank should be used for. It should be used for up-and-coming stars who are over with the fans, heel or babyface, doesn't matter. And it should be given to them, not a superstar who is hanging around who can get to the title on their own, right? And if they flop as champion, they flop as champion. But if they don't, you create a megastar, right? You never know.
That's why Baron winning it was a great pick when he won it.
He won it, but then you had him lose. You didn't give him that opportunity to see what he could do as champion.
Yeah, and even that's fine because he's managed to stay.
He's been fine. Obviously. He's been fine because he is a damn good heel and he's hated, and
his character changed. His character changed as well, so that helped.
Yep.
But that type of guy winning it makes the most sense. Braun winning it, sure, you got Monster in the Bank, that's fine. But also that's a guy that doesn't need to win that match to get there, like we said.
Exactly.
He could just dominate and then be like, oh no, obviously you're getting a title shot because you've destroyed everyone in the locker room.
Absolutely. It should always be reserved for somebody who is either the lower on the card, right? And you want to advance them through the card over the next year, like a Carmella. She held on to that thing for over 200 days, and she advanced up the card until she became women's champion and did a damn good job as women's champion as well. That's another person who became a star after winning Money in the Bank and being built up right with the Money in the Bank briefcase, right?
Yeah.
It could also be given to somebody who is just on the cusp of becoming champion, but needs that tiny little extra thing, and those normally...
Dean, they did it with Dean, which was great. He that one made sense.
That one made a lot of sense, and it could make a lot of sense with Drew McIntyre. Andrade is one of those guys who would be holding on to the briefcase for a while to build him up to becoming the world champ again. But Drew McIntyre could be like the Dean Ambrose, a cash in that night if he wins it, right?
Yeah.
There is some options definitely for superstars to win it out of the 8 superstars in each match, right?
Yeah,
there is, but yeah, I just wish that we'd be given reasons to care about the individuals. Becky Lynch versus Bayley. Let's talk a little bit about that match. I wish the match would have been better, but it wasn't bad.
There.
It was there. Bayley unfortunately losing steam after last week. She should have got the win against Flair last week. That was so very short-sighted booking that she didn't pick up the win. And now we're going to get Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch at Money in the Bank again. And don't get me wrong, it's going to be a fine match. Those two always tear it down, but could have made a new star with Bayley. They didn't do that. Hardy Boys.
I would not be shocked. Sorry, I would not be shocked if Charlotte wins it.
I wouldn't either.
I think that they could, Vince very well could be like, okay, we gave you fans, the universe, your Becky Lynch at Mania, now back to Charlotte.
I would not be opposed to that if there was a Money in the Bank cash-in on her that exact night.
On Charlotte
on Charlotte in the same night, because that would be the reaction of how fans would go about it, right? You would hear the arena deflate after Becky Lynch loses.
Yeah.
You would. And then Charlotte Flair picks up that title, holds it high, big smirk on her face. Evil. Fans boo her. Maybe Becky Lynch attacks her afterwards because that fits in Becky Lynch's character, leaving the opportunity for maybe somebody like Ember Moon, who maybe walks out with the Money in the Bank, cashes in that night, and all of a sudden Ember Moon feels like a far bigger deal than she did before.
Yeah.
Not only is she champ, but she pinned Charlotte Flair to take the title off of the most hated woman in the company, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would be not a bad way to go about it if they did it in that way.
I think she would do it in a way too, because Ember Moon's a face and the style that type of person is. she wouldn't do it in a way like where I don't know that necessarily Becky beats up Charlotte after. I think Charlotte's standing there. Maybe Charlotte even beats on Becky after.
And she comes out to save her, maybe hits her with something.
And she's like, whatever. And then all of a sudden you just hear Ember's music hit and Charlotte snaps her head over and
that starts
Ember
the match.
Comes out with the briefcase just like kind of shaking, smiling, and then comes out and wins it. That would be great. I'd be about that.
Yeah, I think that would be the only way I want to see the title transition onto Charlotte, is if you're going to create a bigger moment for the following champion there, because Becky Lynch being cashed in on would have to be cashed in on by a heel, and that would make them a very, very good heel, right? Like we mentioned before with potentially Sasha Banks, if she were to come back, that would be a great way to cash in if she won the Money in the Bank. But we're speaking all about ifs and whats and everything. Let's talk about actual facts that the Hardy Boys had to relinquish the tag team titles, and all of a sudden the SmackDown tag division is in shambles.
Yeah.
We've got
losing Usos, breaking up Ricochet and Black.
Losing the Good Brothers.
Breaking up the Bar due to injury. I get it. Cesaro's hurt right, or not Cesaro. Sheamus is hurt right now, so that sucks.
So that leaves Heavy Machinery, Colognes. Who else?
Not Sanity anymore.
Not Sanity anymore, because they broke that. Man, this would have been the time for Sanity, wouldn't it? They were just coming out of that little bit of a feud with Shane McMahon, or not with Shane McMahon, but fighting for Shane McMahon. The tag division gets absolutely destroyed by injuries and the superstar shakeup. Sanity could have moved.
Daniel Bryan and Rowan.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan's injured right now.
Is he?
We don't know, though, what the injury is. It's actually starting to get very, very worrisome, because it has been since WrestleMania, and we still have no updates on the situation. But, yeah, Daniel Bryan is reportedly out injured right now, so that's actually very concerning. But, yeah, I agree. Yeah. If Daniel Bryan is good to go, use Daniel Bryan and Rowan in the tag division. That would be an awesome tag team champions.
Shinsuke
Rusev is still there. Yes, that's another one. They would be logical step-ins for the next title reign.
Yeah, because they don't really have them, or heavy machinery. Heavy machinery might be quickly rolled in, but those two teams seem like they're the next ones to at least feud over it.
Yeah, is there anybody that they could call up from SmackDown? Is just the tag division right now very thin, all throughout the WWE? It seems like it is.
I just feel like they've hit an injury bug, unfortunately, at an unfortunate time. I think that they made some moves thinking, oh, this is going to be better in the long run. And then at the same time, they happen to hit an injury bug, and it's just unfortunate timing.
Yeah, because especially with the Hardys being like the tag champs, I bet you they wanted to keep them strong for a while.
Yeah, and we'll see. But likely, like you said, Rusev and good for Rusev and Shinsuke, works out for them.
It works out. It'd be nice to see Shinsuke on TV a little bit more, and Rusev can get over.
They could have, if they knew this injury stuff was coming, they could have very easily kept Bobby Roode and Gable together and just moved them over to SmackDown. They're a acceptable team.
You know what?
Right?
At this point, I would try somebody else with Gable. On SmackDown.
I just feel bad. I honestly was thinking that, and then I.
Oh, you cut out, man. Your microphone cut out.
Oh, I just don't want them to, because I was thinking that, but I don't want them to because it just seems like at that point you're falling into too much of a trend of oh, he needs someone else, which he doesn't. He's an incredible performer. Stop making him need someone else. Give it some time. Give it some breathing room. Give it some time, right?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying with that, but also you got to look at opportunities on the roster, and right now, if you want to put them into a makeshift tag team, you can create a tag team for now, and thus leading into a feud in the future when,
That's
people
fair.
are back. Why not take some superstars that are just kind of floating around doing nothing in the lower mid card right now and put them in a tag team and see if something sticks,
Yeah.
Tag team wrestling's good for that. It's good for creating storylines.
Yeah, there's guys that they can use in the meantime too. Shelton Benjamin, what's he doing?
Yep.
Killian Dane, what's he doing?
You could reform. Yeah, you could easily reform Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable as a tag team for the meantime if you wanted to.
Buddy Murphy, what's he doing? There's guys, Mojo Rawley, wherever he is at the moment, and like this time would be okay to just be like, oh, he's on SmackDown now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Luke Harper, he literally, I mean, he wants to release, but there's guys.
There is guys, use, yeah. So. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's Street Profits are main roster ready as well. If you need a fun team on SmackDown, if you wanted to. But just also really, really quick, I love that Lars Sullivan was the one to come out and destroy the Hardys, though. That keeps him looking strong. I love him. I've said this, continuing to attack the older generation, I think is great. Especially when R-Truth comes back in and tries to hit him with a steel chair. That creates a nice story for R-Truth and Lars moving forward. But man, did Lars look like a beast when he punched that chair out of his hand. Yeah, I loved it. 100%. He's feeling like a potential next Big Show.
There was one thing too. I last week and this week, I've loved, and I thought about both times that I saw Lars out there and Truth out there is. Truth is the perfect first rivalry for Lars, because it's not putting him into a spot on the card where you need to be incredible, where you need to be top tier, but Truth can go. We've talked about it a number of times. He can wrestle well. He looks good, and he's also okay to just lose, right? Like Hill and Lars will dominate him, and it's good. I think it's the perfect first rivalry. So as much bad as they're doing in the writing, that is a shining. That's a sparkle in a piece of shit, basically.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's like, yeah, that's glitter in a piece of shit. That like little things like that where I'm like, oh, okay, that shines through because you're doing one thing good.
Yeah, and I'm very, very, very excited to see Lars' first match on Raw on SmackDown, because when he was in NXT, he had that great entrance with the silhouette and everything, and we haven't seen that yet. And I wonder if they're saving that on purpose, so that in his first match, he feels like even a bigger deal when he comes to the ring, because that entrance... It's just so unique. I've never seen anything like it before. We've always seen, lights get shut down for scary people or red to invoke fear or whatever. But a bright, shining light that is blocked out by the silhouette of a giant, that is a cool, cool thing to see on your TV screen.
I think his first match will be at Money in the Bank.
It should be. I don't
think that they're going to have him wrestle until then. If they do, we're only 2 weeks away, but if they do, it's a mistake.
I absolutely agree, yeah.
Or 3 weeks away, whatever it is.
Yeah. So anyways, let's quickly talk about Kairi Sane and Asuka. I think they are a fun tag team. One thing that I will say about NXT is that they have this weird continuing thing with the women's tag division, whether it's they want to put the titles all over NXT plus Raw plus SmackDown. It seems like it's 1 week they want to do that, and the other week they don't. But regardless, Kairi Sane and Asuka being up on SmackDown Live, it's a good tag team to have. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I love both those wrestlers. I think I can't help but think it's a little strange.
You think it's strange?
That they're just like, oh, let's just, for lack of a better phrase, let's just put these two Asians together as a team because they're Asians.
I don't see it like that, though.
I'm a little bit... It's just weird that, like, where's Asuka and Kairi Sane's real connection from that prior to this that you've shown us?
No, they have not shown prior connection.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you've shown it with Naomi and Asuka. You've shown it with some other things, right?
Yeah, but I don't think this is one of those situations where it's like them being best friends and coming up because they're best friends. It's more one of those situations where Kairi Sane is being called up and needs a mentor on the roster. And what better person to mentor you than a former NXT champion herself and a former women's champion in Asuka, right? And having Paige as being the microphone as well for this team is good.
It's amazing because both don't have great mic work. The thing that I'm like, they very well could have just called up Io Shirai and Kairi Sane. They're already a tag team. They're already an established team. Why do you need to bring and I get it, maybe, Asuka doesn't have anything going right now. We don't want to put her back into the main title picture. Put her in the Money in the Bank match.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, exactly. Give her a storyline. Here's the thing. Asuka's a big enough star to carry an individual storyline if you gave her one, right?
Yeah.
You could just have somebody else like Carmella, I don't know, who's starting to show a healer side. Maybe they engage again in some sort of mini rivalry on SmackDown Live. Think about like when we saw Andrade and Rey Mysterio continue their feud 3-4 weeks over SmackDown Live. Just through
zero
in-ring
purpose
action.
Of a title.
Yep.
Zero title involvement. Zero Money in the Bank. Zero anything involvement. Just a rivalry.
Exactly.
WWE needs to remember you can have rivalries without championships included or involved. You can make things bigger deals without Shane McMahon and The Miz. This is still an amazing rivalry that,
and it's still continuing. Yeah.
I hope Steel Cage is the last of it.
It should be.
Money in the Bank. It should be. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that the loss at WrestleMania was shocking, the shock value. I think that the way that he lost wasn't really Shane McMahon beating him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they did a great job with that. But I think, okay, Miz better win.
And it should be Roman Reigns that cost Shane McMahon the win as well, you know, in the steel cage.
Or just Miz just beating him. I don't care.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that you're going to have to find a way to get that feud really rolling with Roman Reigns and Shane McMahon. And I don't think there is any better way, any more obvious way than inside a steel cage, which is supposed to keep everybody out. And we know how steel cages work. When there's a rule that says everybody's got to stay out, somebody is usually getting in. And Roman Reigns getting in and beating the crap out of Shane McMahon inside a steel cage where he locks the door or something on the pay-per-view would be really, really fun. You know?
Yeah. I think, though, that's the last of the Miz and Shane. I'm okay with that. And then Miz, move them up, have them into a different rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
And, honestly, they just need to, you and I were talking about it, they just need to start doing more tournament-based stuff where things mean something, a future opportunity, this or that, whatever it is.
And I know it's lazy.
Whether it's a U.S.
Yeah, and I know it's
lazy. It gets us invested. There's a built-in storyline when you don't actually need storylines.
Yeah, what I was more trying to say, I just couldn't quite get it out. It's lazy to do a battle royal, but at least that battle royal matters for something, right? The number one contender, like you said, a tournament. These multi-man style matches where you don't have to do a lot of thought in the individual characteristics, but they're fighting for something, and everybody can relate to that, you know? These guys are fighting for an opportunity. Okay, I care about this match now because something is on the line. Yeah. And yeah, like we've said, WWE just doesn't make enough matches for us to care about. You know, they're just matches.
And you can build story that way too, where it's I announced this week, hey, starting next week, we're going to have a 4-round tournament to determine who will be Samoa Joe's competitor at SummerSlam or at the next pay-per-view or whatever it is.
Well, look how they did it
United States title.
Look how they did it just 2 weeks ago, I can't remember, where it was the 2 triple threat matches. And then the main event was the winner of the 2 triple threat matches for the opportunity to go on to main event, Money in the Bank. That is
also didn't think that needed to be the same night. But
no, it didn't. But at least we got a story. We got 3 matches. We had stuff on the line. 3 weeks ago. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks. Yeah,
or last week, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. So 2 Raws ago.
Yeah, I think too, and you can do it story-wise because it would have made sense if all of a sudden that week Baron Corbin screws over Drew, gets his match. This week he loses to AJ. Next week, the week before Money in the Bank,
you have the contracts.
This week would have happened, and there would have been some qualifying matches. Maybe not all of them. Maybe 2 of the 4.
Yep.
And then the next week would be the next 2. And all of a sudden, instead of having a qualifying match, maybe Baron goes to Vince McMahon or Stephanie or whatever and complains, because maybe in the match against AJ last week, Drew comes out and screws Baron because he screwed him out of his opportunity to even get there.
Exactly.
So now all of a sudden Baron complains and goes, I deserve retribution. Like, I got screwed over. Now doesn't even need a qualifying match. That's where it's like, okay, that's fine. Maybe Steph or Vince go, okay, fine, you're in the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And we would be like, okay, we'll accept it.
And that is such a heel thing to have because he didn't qualify, right? And that would be a heel thing to do. But when you're giving Ricochet the spot, even though I love Ricochet, even though I'm loving the idea of him in Money in the Bank, when you have him lose the week before and then get gifted an opportunity, that is just, it doesn't make sense. Wins and losses should matter.
Yeah. Even if they did a qualifying match this week, a rematch between Ricochet and Robert Roode, and Ricochet won, Sure.
Yeah, it's 50-50 booking, but at least it makes sense why he's in the Money in the Bank.
Like, okay. Yeah, he beat him. Maybe last week was just a fluke.
Yep.
I get it.
Really quickly here, Roman Reigns defeated the B team. We talked a little bit about the B team already. The match, I will say this much. I bought into the finish. I was invested in the match because Roman Reigns has a way of drawing emotion out of everybody when he's in a match. Yep. B team looked fine. The match was fine. But again, it's just
Elias is fine. Like, I'm excited for that match. I'm excited that Elias is going to be wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm excited that he's wrestling against someone of caliber.
Yeah, and like you said, caliber. He's in a marquee match. Roman Reigns versus Elias. No matter how much the fans want to bitch and moan about Roman, he's a top star, and he's nowhere near a big title picture right now. Why are you booing him or anything like that? I just don't get it. But yeah, Roman
booing Roman. I haven't heard it. Are there people booing Roman?
Oh yeah, God, just a few.
God, people suck.
But yeah, Reigns defeats the B team in a solid, not great match, but hey, it did its job. Yep. Finn Balor and Ali versus Randy Orton and Andrade. Again, this is a match that would have served really good purpose next week if you would have had some sort of qualifiers, and then you had the two baby faces, the two heels. I think the SmackDown side of things is perfect. I don't think you can put a better 4 people in a Money in the Bank match than that. The only thing people are going to say is Balor being the IC champion, he shouldn't really be in the match, but you weren't going to give him a title match before, and that'll be fun. Ali's going to be great in the match. Randy Orton, the veteran, and Andrade, one of my favorites to win the Money in the Bank. Balor and Ali defeated Orton and Andrade. This was my match of the week. I thought this was a really solid match. And
I thought it was good.
Yep. But again, like you said, the 450 splash is no longer the 054. Kind of sucks.
Ali, he was the last man standing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we're still another week out, but it's not the go-home show, but
he was
never a good look when someone's the last man standing, right?
The thing I got to ask you here is that, he's in the match, so he obviously could win, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that this would be the time for Ali, considering he was supposed to be in the Kofi Kingston spot before WrestleMania? Would this be his time?
I think it could be a great opportunity. The great thing with this is the Money in the Bank doesn't need to be used at any point it has to be used within the year, obviously, right? Like, it could literally get cashed in for the next Money in the Bank pay-per-view.
That would be so cool. I'd like to see that one year,
So, yeah, where it's like, oh, you got to use it. You got to use it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use it. 2 Sundays from now at Money in the Bank.
Yep.
And it's such a face thing to do, to announce ahead of time. But I think that the great thing about someone like Andrade or Ali or Ricochet winning it possibly is they don't need to use it right away. Mm-hmm. It can build them, and that briefcase builds their character and their love with the universe, or hate, depending face or heel, more and more. Mm-hmm. Right? We don't have to give it to someone who needs to use it right away, right? So I think that's the great thing about someone like even Finn Balor winning it, having him have the IC title on one shoulder and the briefcase.
We haven't seen that since The Miz, right? Being U.S. champ and the Money in the Bank champ.
Yeah. So I think stuff like that's always interesting, and also anyone who's going to complain about it, pretty much every single Money in the Bank, one of the mid card titles is a part of the match.
Yeah. I don't think it's really too much.
Kevin Owens was it Kevin Owens was the IC title the one year?
Oh God, yeah, that might be testing my
knowledge. He was in it, and like every year there's someone in it usually that is one of the mid-card titles.
Yeah.
So to
It's
complain about
thing.
it doesn't matter.
No. Usually your mid-card champion is one of your most exciting performers anyways, so hey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Quickly, closing segment.
Yeah, the KO show with Xavier Woods. It's what it needed to be. Kevin Owens made a promo by talking to action figures. That's how damn talented this man is. He can get any segment over, whether it's got all the flashy Kevin Owens show stuff like he said, or whether it's just him alone in the ring with a chair and a microphone. The guy is pure gold. I love Kevin Owens. Again, I've said this time and time again, he is WWE's MVP, most versatile player. You can put him in absolutely any segment, and he will knock it out of the park, as he did in this one. He was great on the microphone. Kofi
modern-day
Kingston.
Chris Jericho, buddy.
Yeah, seriously. Kofi Kingston looked like a star when he walked out from the back to come down to Kevin Owens. Is showing a more aggressive side, something that we needed to see from a champion. You can't be happy-go-lucky all the time. I enjoyed the segment.
Yeah. I think I enjoyed it. I don't know how I feel about it opening and closing the show, but I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah. It's better than I guess seeing Becky Lynch on Raw and then open SmackDown and close SmackDown with something else in there, right? Like if you're gonna push your main champion, you might as well have him be in the most amount of segments on the night, right? Yeah. Especially somebody who is still over like Kofi Kingston is. Like you did say, he is losing some steam for sure because the journey is always better than the destination. Yeah. But still.
And we haven't seen him defend it yet. So once he starts defending it, then that's cool.
Yep. I don't think we're going to have issues with Kofi Kingston here. Kevin Owens is a great first opponent. But the question is, will Kofi Kingston get a defense or not? Right? That's the question, which we're going to have to watch the pay-per-view to find out. But I believe that brings us to the end of this week's show. Certainly a different style of show today, but you know what?
It was there.
When WWE doesn't try, why should we, right?
Was it 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month away from AEW? Is that where?
Yeah, May 25th, Double or Nothing.
So about a month away, which is going to be very exciting.
Yep. And then starts the real war. I'm excited for it.
Yep.
Yep.
Match of the week, you had Finn and Ali defeating Randy Orton and Andrade.
Yep.
I had the Usos defeating the Good Brothers. Who was your MVP of the week?
Give me yours first while I'm thinking really quick right here.
It was lackluster. I went with Bray.
You went Bray?
I think.
I'm going to go Becky Lynch. I think that she still had one of the more memorable segments of the week with Lacey Evans. She looked good on the microphone again. And I mean, she was solid on SmackDown as well. So, yeah, I'll go Becky Lynch. But I believe that's going to do it for us this week. Yeah, man. Definitely a good podcast. Definitely enjoyable to talk to you. Nice to talk to you again. Sorry about the big delay.
That's all right.
Yeah, but we'll definitely be talking more here moving forward. Glad to see the leg isn't back. The new computer's working great.
Yeah, it is working well, thankfully. It's
good. So we finally fixed that problem. Yeah, I didn't see a lag once here throughout the stream, so that's really good. You can follow me on Twitter at Conman167. Where can they follow you?
Right there. Bob's Wrasslin. BOBSRASSLIN. Bob's BOBSRASSLIN.
I will be live again on Monday for Monday Night Raw, and also nope, this airs on Friday. Never mind. Yeah, so Monday Night Raw, I will be back here for all of you guys. But until then, I've been Con.
And I've been Bob.
And that was our attempt at a good Con and Bob podcast, because Raw and SmackDown sucked. All right, bye.